And did I mention it's live?
Okay, we broadcast live from the west side.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? This is Alan Hinton, Sports Politicking, show Agree to Disagree. I want to talk really quickly about something that I thought was really interesting. I was hoping to try to get some thoughts on it, and we may talk about it a little bit more in the future. But this weekend, Pat Riley said that he thinks that the NBA should have a franchise tag. A 1-year tag you can put on your top player, and you can pay them anything, no cap, max cap limit, percentage of the cap like they do max contracts right now. And this is in response to Kevin Durant leaving and going to Golden State. Initially hearing that, I didn't really like the idea. I'm kind of on the same page as the NBA Players Association, where they want to have players have flexibility. Players have the ability to, just dictate where they want to play. If you played, 8, 9, maybe 10 years with the same team or more, whatever the case may be, to be able to dictate, decide, where you're going to play, how you finish out your career. And I think that there is definitely value to that. I think it's very important to be able to do that. So I started thinking about it a little more. I feel like there is something that's necessary to kind of balance things out. After the last collective bargaining agreement, the Players Association, I feel like, kind of won in this aspect that players make more money now if they opt out and test the waters to free agency, even though a lot of guys are still going back to their their home team or whatever you want to call it. Now you still have that opportunity, increased opportunity for players to kind of see what's out there, get enticed by somebody else. I mean, Dwayne Wade left Miami this year. Obviously, Kevin Durant just went to Golden State. Al Horford, which isn't a huge deal to some people, but him leaving Atlanta is pretty big, especially as you try to replace him with Dwight Howard, which I don't think is going to work at all. And he went to Boston. So you look around the league, there was 3 teams that lost not necessarily their best player. You could make arguments about whether Al Horford was the best player in Atlanta last year or not, but they lost stars. They've lost what you could have considered their biggest name player. They lost a guy that will be really hard to replace. You can't find a replacement for him in free agency at all. You'd be lucky to be able to draft a guy, especially because none of those teams really had early draft picks to try to go out and get, a Brandon Ingram, Chris Dunn type of player in this draft. So to me, I like the idea, but I think if they were to do something like it, I kind of like the idea that Pat Riley had for being able to pay a guy whatever. But I think that there should be more that goes to it. I think I would format it more like the NBA's, the NFL's franchise tag, where you can use it for 1 year to keep a guy's rights to be able to go back and renegotiate more for a contract. But the non-exclusive tag is kind of what I would do, so that the player still has the ability to go out and negotiate with other teams. And then if he wants to sign a contract, it'd be kind of like the qualifying offer for restricted free agents, where that guy can go out and sign that contract, and the team have the ability to match it or let him go. And then, so to me, it would be kind of a mix between the NFL's non-exclusive franchise tag and the NBA's qualifying offer. They have restricted free agents. I think one of the biggest things that would be important to me is some kind of compensation, because that's really what's lacking. Even if that compensation isn't going to make up for the loss of a Kevin Durant or an Al Horford, to be able to come back and say, okay, you took my franchise player, the guy I've designated this franchise player, so now I get 2 first-round draft picks or something like that, or the choice to bring back one of your players in a trade. and a draft pick, something along those lines, like some kind of mandated sign and trade, something like that. So you take this player, but I get something back in return. But then kind of like the qualifying offer, have it just be for 1 year. So you can't, like the NFL does, you can't franchise a guy in back-to-back years. So you either negotiate that contract with him, get an extension while he's on that franchise tag, or he can walk away the next year. I think that doing something like that would be better for both sides, better than what's happening now on the owner side, but also still give players that flexibility. You can still sign a contract with someone else, and then let the team decide whether or not to match it, or B, you can just take the 1 year tag and then walk away the next season if you still feel like at that point you can't get another contract signed. I don't know that it'll happen. Everything that I read over the weekend about it kept stressing how the Players Association was against the kind of idea. It's been floated before, not necessarily as Pat Riley had talked about it with being able to pay a guy whatever, but I think it would be, if they could get into the logistics of it, the bits and pieces, I think it would be worth doing. And if I was the owners, I would fight for something like that, just because they need some kind of way to balance out. Obviously, having a guy's rights and being able to offer him the extra year of contract and being able to go above the salary cap to sign a guy that you have for a while definitely helps. I think the extra money, the higher percentage raises and all that kind of stuff adds to the appeal of staying home. But at the same time, if a guy does want to leave or does decide to leave, especially when it's a guy like a LeBron James when he left Cleveland, or Kevin Durant this year when he goes to Golden State, that's going to set your team back a couple of years. It's really going to hurt your team. And, there's nothing that the extra couple of dollars that you could have offered him will do for that. Once that guy decides he's gone, it is what it is. And I guess that obviously that's the player's right. And it's hard with this franchise tag if they do it to try to do that. Because then there's no, one of the advantages you have with the qualifying offers, restricted free agents, is kind of that poison pill type thing teams have been doing in the past. You can't really do that with max players because they're going to get a match. So you can't really negotiate around that. There's no way to try to increase that and make it hard for a team to match. And on a whole, I can't imagine, had this tag been in action this year, I can't imagine Atlanta not matching for Al Horford. I can't imagine OKC not matching Kevin Durant. So it would have been something that would have changed the landscape of the game this year quite a bit. Boston wouldn't have been in a situation where they could have offered Al Horford a contract, because the last thing they want to get back is more draft picks. So it's interesting to see what'll happen with it. I kind of like the idea to an extent, but at the same time, I can definitely see why it probably won't pass. But that won't keep me from being optimistic and hoping down the line that they can come up with something kind of like that. That's really all I've got. I'd like to see the NBA at least explore it, knowing that there's a pretty good chance it probably won't happen. But I like the idea. I think it's an interesting concept, and something I hope to talk more about at length with the rest of the guys, or anybody watching YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. If you have some thoughts, let me know. Get with me on my personal Twitter, AFlash79, Sports Politics Twitter. Find us on Facebook, so on and so forth. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you for your time.
Okay, we broadcast live from the